this afternoon as well. When there's a high-level ECOWAS mission which is headed to Niger today as the community's effort at restoring democracy in the country continues. ECOWAS gave the military junta in Niger up to last Sunday to relinquish power and to restore the former president, failing which there will be some action in terms of deployment of military troops to the area. The deadline has since elapsed and no action has been announced so far. Speaking last night on PM Express, the ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, Ambassador Dr. Abdel Fattah Musa, announced that the high-powered delegation will be in Niger today to continue efforts at convincing the military regime to relinquish power.
ECOWAS has an array of tools in its arsenal as far as our fight to restore constitutional order in the region goes. So we have to exhaust all these, tools in our toolbox. And the first of them, like we said, has been the shuttle diplomacy that has been going on. We have deployed missions there. We have not actually had any joy yet, even as the deadline for the release of President Bazoum and the restoration of constitutional order, were passing. We were still insisting on the mediation angle of it. Tomorrow, I am joining a team from the UN, from ECOWAS, and then from the African Union to go back to Niger, to go and continue with this diplomatic work that we are doing. In the meantime, the chiefs of defense staff met in a 2-day planning meeting to develop a comprehensive, something like an intervention roadmap, for the ECOWAS intervention in Mali. So that also has been concluded. So what is next? And I think that was your question. On Thursday, the heads of state are going to meet, and they are going to be accompanied by their chiefs of defense staff during the ECOWAS summit.
ECOWAS is, however, not ruling out a full-blown military intervention in Niger to force the military regime out of power. According to ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, Ambassador Dr. Abdel Fattah Musa, the sanctions imposed on Niger is working so far.
We are going to review the diplomatic efforts that have been deployed up till this point to see where we need to strengthen our approach. And as I said, we had an array of tools. In the meantime, sanctions have started biting in the country. Sanctions were also imposed on the country. There were cuts in the electricity. Parts of Niger today is in the dark. Prices have shot up overnight, and there is a lot of pressure on the junta, to yield, to do something. So we are using all these tools. And then on Thursday, we are going to review, have these efforts worked so far? If they have not, what next? And what is going to be done will be an analysis. The chiefs of defense will give their report about the concept of operation for the military intervention in the country, which has never been off the table. But we have said it is going to be the option of last resort. Okay, so they will give that. The member states will confirm their contribution of elements, whether contingency-owned equipment, how many troops, and other things, to try and then finalize that, also, and then also to review all other options, and also to decide on if we are going to intervene militarily, when and where. All those issues are going to be the prerogative of the authority of heads of state and government. And like you said earlier on, the deadline passed, and many people thought, oh, the deadline has passed, so ECOWAS must be, intervening right now. That is not how the military operates, because we have to maintain that strategic, ambiguity, just to keep people guessing as to when, where, and how, if there is going to be a military option, how it is going to be applied.
We know that in the last few hours, as is indicated, a lot of reactions have been coming up, and the African Regional Organization of International Trade Union, Confederation, has issued a statement asking the regional body ECOWAS and the AU to hasten slowly with their plans to use force to push out the military regime in Niger. Let's get to it in terms of what it is that the content says about this very military deployment. It indicates, first of all, that the Africa Regional Organization of the International Trade Union Confederation, the ITUC Africa, is condemning and condemned earlier the unconstitutional and undemocratic change of power in Niger, which occurred on the 26th of July when the Presidential Guard of the country declared martial law after deposing the president. We reiterate our commitment to constitutionality and democracy. However, we are worried by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, ultimatum to threat and the threat to intervene militarily to restore the deposed president to power. We wish to state categorically and unambiguously that the African workers reject a military option in solving the political impasse in Niger. We call on ECOWAS, rather than mobilizing for military development, to engineer and engage in a robust and swift diplomatic and political move to resolve the crisis. And the statement continues to indicate that they are observing the security situation in the Sahel region in the past years and will definitely coming. So what do Ghanaians think about the potential ECOWAS military intervention in Niger, which includes Ghanaian soldiers, because the defense minister confirmed that Ghana is willing to join us, has been speaking to some of your counterparts, if I may say, Ghanaians here on the streets of Accra.
Really be some backlash, some of the threats, are being directed to some of the ECOWAS member countries from these French countries, So we have to be very, very careful. And it's a very easy thing for them to take advantage of the situation and start looking towards Nigeria, Ghana, and other countries.
The steps that ECOWAS is taking is truly misplaced. It is not something that Africa or Africans should support. I'm not in support of, this ECOWAS intrusion on the land. In as much as Nigeria is connected to Ghana, definitely so what happens to Nigeria, what happens to ECOWAS basically affects Ghanaians.
So if you want to send military personnel or troops to go and then counter their decision, then it implies that Ghana also supports how the country is being governed. And you know how other countries also see Ghana, that our president is not governing as well. You have fire in your backyard, put it off before you come to us. So I think we should act professionally, try to have bilateral talks, professional talks, diplomatic talks.
We also need to do our homework well, because what is happening, if you listen to the explanation being given by the military junta, you realize that they have a point. Ghana can be affected by going to fight against the leader or the military people who are in charge of the affair for now. They could be affected because it's some people's country. That is what they have chosen to go. Once they have gotten supporters over there, people are supporting what they have done. No, they can victimize. We have people over there, Ghanaians are there. So if they go, they should not forget that we have Ghanaians over there. So if Ghanaians are there and they're going to fight, probably killing innocent people over there, they can revenge by going around looking for those West Africa countries that are going to fight against them, look for their citizens. Also, so in one way or the other, we are being affected indirectly.
The ECOWAS Union or ECOWAS states should find a way to actually find or make peace amicably rather than sending soldiers. And we know the Russians are also supporting the Nigerians. And then if that will be the case, we can't win this case. So let's take our time and solve this thing before sending our troops over there.
No. From my view, Diana should not to support, because what is happening in Niger is also happening here. So if we are not care what is happening in Niger, it will come to Ghana.
People, they are also facing like the economy very tough. Then that's why they overthrown their president. So Ghana, we are facing the same thing. If you are working, things are not going well for you. So we also need to throw our president away. So there's no need Ghanaian armies to go and support the Niger people, the ECOWAS. If Ghana support, that means the same thing needs to happen in Ghana here.
Streets of Accra. Joining us now is ranking member of the Defense and Interior Committee, James Agaga. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us. You must be concerned, definitely, on the Interior Committee, knowing that the possibility of what's happening outside could affect the stability here within. What's the recommendation, first of all, on how our president should deal with this matter, and also, going forward, what ECOWAS should be doing?
Would say that President Akufo-Addo, who happens to be a key member of the ECOWAS, heads of state and authority, should be very measured. Look, ECOWAS was very, very quick in issuing out an ultimatum to the military junta in Niger to reinstate the deposed president or face military action. When the ultimatum came, clearly ECOWAS had not exhausted diplomatic efforts aimed at dealing with the crisis, which unfolded in that country. And now, by issuing ultimatums, I think ECOWAS has compromised itself in terms of negotiating an amicable settlement to the impasse. Given that, previously, ECOWAS member states went through the same trajectory in terms of military takeovers, and yet ECOWAS did not adopt that kind of posturing. Guinea is a typical example. What happened in Guinea when the military in that country took over power from a civilian government? Burkina Faso, we saw two coups in a row. The first one overthrew a civilian government. The second coup overthrew another military leader. ECOWAS was quiet. What
you finish?
Happened? Chad. There are so many examples, and you wonder why ECOWAS has suddenly decided to, assume the posturing that we have seen over the past few days. I think that it's important that ECOWAS should begin to ask itself what the underlying causes of the military takeover.
So what will you then suggest in terms of the way forward and
able to establish line causes are? They can begin to attempt to solve those underlying causes. But if they sit back and allow the militaries within the sub-region to overthrow resolve. First of all, what is the authority?
So when it comes to the issue about the deployment, we are Honorable James Aga, it appears we're having some challenge with you there in terms of hearing you. Are you with us? Okay, it appears we're having some challenges reaching Honorable James Agaga, but the point is about the deployment that we're seeing now, knowing that, of course, the diplomatic mission officially is in Niger. We're also reading of this report that's also coming through that some solidarity deployment is being done by the military regimes in Mali and the others. We're yet to confirm that. But let's go back to Honorable James Agaga, who's also the ranking on the Interior and Defense Committee of Parliament. And you were just talking there about the deployment that's about to be made. I was speaking to the Defense Minister somewhere about a week ago, indicating to us that Ghana is ready to contribute troops. You say that would not be a good move?
First of all, the Minister for Defense must understand that the Parliament of Ghana has not granted any approval for Ghana to contribute troops to an ECOWAS intervention force in Mali. They must understand that for Ghana to contribute troops, for Ghana to partake in any military intervention in the Republic of Niger, the people of this country, represented by its parliament, must authorize such a deployment. As far as I know, the Minister for Defense has not tabled any ECOWAS resolution warranting Ghana to partake in contributing troops to intervene militarily.
Not support, is that the point, that you would not support, parliamentarily speaking, you will not support any move to deploy the troops? Honorable James Agaga, I'm just asking if you would not support.
Insofar as there is no UN, I will not support the move. I will not. And the reasons are not far-fetched. First of all, as we speak, there is no legal basis in the Republic of Niger. There is no legal basis. In international law, I mean, the only body that can authorize
very salient points James Agaga was making there.
Honorable
James Agaga, we seem to be losing you intermittently, but just take that point for us again. The reason for which you're saying you would not support any military action or Ghana contributing its troops.
Yes. The point I'm making is that at the moment, we don't even have any legal basis mandated under international law to authorize the use of force. To authorize the use of is the UN Security Council.
We'll get back to James Agaga because he's making a very serious point about the need for UN backing for us to contribute to our troops. As to what the legal position is on that, but we need to argue it out. He will join us back again to explore that. But even as we speak, there's some tracking that we're doing about the situation when it comes to the no-fly zone sanctions that were imposed by ECOWAS. Because that's biting hard, and yet we're spotting some indication that gives us a sense of hope that the diplomatic mission from ECOWAS is indeed in Niger as we speak. Isaac Ofeje is still tracking that for us. So Isaac, let's get to the explanation of what we're about to see on our screens now. We're tracking the flags, correct?
Yeah. So the airspace was closed on Sunday where no airline or no plane was supposed to land in Niger from any part of the other countries. But since Sunday, we've been tracking, airlines, moving to Niamey. And we can count about 3 of them. One was yesterday. It moved from Burkina Faso. It was a transport plane that moved from Burkina Faso, which is Ouagadougou, to Niamey. And then just about 30 minutes ago, or 15 minutes ago, if my estimation is correct, a plane just landed in Niamey. It was from Burkina Faso, rather from Niger to Burkina Faso. And this plane belonged to the Niger Air Force. And currently, as we speak, there is another plane from Turkey, which is moving from Turkey to Niamey. So there you can see.
So what we see now, because there are so many flights on the screens, just explain to us what we're seeing now on the screen.
Refresh the map to see the current, flight that's moving from Istanbul to Niamey. So what we can say is that we can count, or we can confirm that since the airspace was closed on Sunday, 3 flights have actually landed, 2 in Niamey and 1 from Niamey to Ouagadougou. So although the airspace has been closed, you can see some transport movement between Burkina Faso and Niger, and then also between Niger and then Turkey. And what is happening is that the neighboring countries that could have used Niger as a short route to travel will now have to redirect most of their flights. So for instance, Nigeria can no longer fly over Niger. They have to use another route, whether to use Ghana or another place. And then also we have airlines complaining that because of this, travel cost and time have all been increased because Niger usually was supposed to be, a shorter route to either Nigeria or to any other place, but because of the closure, they are redirecting their flight. And most of the flights are being redirected to Mali. That's why on the map you see a lot of planes moving either to Mali or out of Mali, but you do not see any plane coming to Niger. But per what I'm tracking right now, there's a plane from Istanbul heading towards Niamey. And this belongs to the Turkish airline. So it's moving from Istanbul to Niamey.
Okay, so we need to explain that this is a live situation that we're seeing right now. And apologies, we are not able to bring you all of the details now, but that's just to give you a sense of what's happening. Quite an isolated area now, if you look at it in terms of what's happening. So most of the flights appear to be adhering with the no-fly zone sanction that was imposed by ECOWAS. A meeting is underway. Will be happening actually on Thursday, where the heads of state will decide on what happens next. But I understand the Honourable James Agaga is back on Zoom with us. Apologies, Honourable, because we lost you earlier when you were making the point about the Parliament of Ghana not backing the military deployment of our Ghanaian armed forces joining the ECOMOG or ECOWAS troops, if we may term them as such. What's your reasoning for that?
Point that at the moment, there is no legal basis for what the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government want to do. The ultimatum to reinstate or Bazoum or face military action has no legal basis. And I made the point that, look, the only authority or body authorized to give its consent or approval for the use of force is the UN Security Council. But as we speak, I am not aware of any such decision by the UN Security Council to authorize the use of force against the Republic of Niger, because internally there has been a coup which toppled a civilian elected administration. And so there be no such UN Security Council resolution backing the ECOWAS intended military intervention. I would say that under international law, any such intervention would be an illegal intervention, and for which reason Ghana should not partake in the intended illegal action that the Authority of Heads of State of ECOWAS want to embark upon. That is the first leg of my argument. I earlier on made the point that Ghana's parliament must be consulted so far as Ghana's own commitment to the cause of the ECOWAS intended military intervention in Niger is concerned. So far, Ghana's parliament has not been consulted. And I'm saying this on authority. The approval of parliament has not been sought for Ghana to deploy boots in the Republic of Niger. And so I think the Minister for Defense must be reminded here that he has an obligation to seek parliamentary approval before Ghana can participate in any military intervention on foreign soil. So these are two reasons, compelling reasons, why I would not even support Ghana's participation in any military intervention in Niger in the first place. But aside these two points I have registered with you, for all intents and purposes, any military intervention in Niger is going to be disastrous because you have other countries in the sub-region which do not back the decision taken by ECOWAS. Notable examples are Mali, Burkina Faso, and even some non-ECOWAS members like Algeria, which borders Niger. And so the question to ask is, in the event of military intervention, can the Republic of Niger solicit the support of those countries that don't back intervention in Niamey or Niger? And if they do, why? We're going to have a West African World War. You have countries that align themselves to Niger, pitching themselves in battle against a Nigerian-led bloc that are in support of military intervention in Niger. Can we contain the bloodshed? And what would be the end game? What would be the end game? Look at the sheer size of Niger. You want to send an intervention force in Niger to reinstate a deposed president. And for how long can that intervention force be in Niger to enforce law and order? For how long? We've seen examples in Mali when the United States intervened and elsewhere. What was the outcome?
Okay, but here's the case.
What was the outcome of U.S. military?
Yeah, I get the point you're raising, but here's the point. Okay, we seem to be having a challenge there with Honorable James Agalga, who appears to be explaining what's happening. And Honorable, just one more time, let's try if we'll see if the lines will be stable. I was just about pointing you to the minutes on the last summit that was held. President Akufo-Addo was there, according to the records. He was present. He endorsed the position. So that's our position by extension as a country. Isaac, let's wrap up. So you have any further details to share with us?
Yeah, so I think we have details on the plane that's, just took off from Istanbul to Niger. So it was estimated that this plane will set off from Istanbul at 12 p.m., but because of this delay, it took off somewhere around 2 o'clock, and we're estimating that by 5, it should be in Niamey or in Niger. But what we do not understand is that the fact that most of the scheduled flights have been cancelled, but this particular, plane from Turkey, which is a bit close to Russia, is being allowed to come to Niger. So we've seen 3 right now. One from Istanbul and one that just flew from Niamey to Burkina Faso,
right,
which belonged to an air force, the Niger, Air Force. Yeah. And then there was another one that flew from Burkina Faso, a transport plane, yesterday to Niger. So we do not quite get what is going on because this is supposed to be a no-flight zone. The airspace has been closed. Nigeria is not being allowed to use the airspace. They are redirecting most of their flights through Chad and then Burkina Faso and other places. But we do not understand why this particular airline from Turkey, which is an Airbus, is being allowed to fly from Istanbul.
Well, interesting questions there. Something that we'll need to explore some more, but we know that meeting will happen on Thursday. Expect Joy News to bring you some updates. We're taking a break here on The Pulse. When we get back, we'll get you some updates on the embattled Cecilia Dapat and what has become of the case. Please stay.